What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. This is our NFL Divisional Round betting preview. We're going to break down our top sides, totals, props, give out an anytime touchdown parlay as well for the divisional rounds for games this weekend. Joining me, as always, the Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuckey. Stuck, what is going on? You're still up 59-48 on the six pack. I actually got a couple of points on you last week. Any thoughts on the wild card round before we're on to the divisional round?
Yeah, it was my worst week of the year, which sucks during the playoffs. I got great numbers, which is great in the long run, but in the short run, you just want to win. That's all that matters. Especially during the playoffs. Those games were awesome, but
Yeah,
I'm a better.
very
I
good.
only enjoy the games much as as well as my bets are going. So, to get was dead wrong on the Chargers. I can't believe how bad Herbert played. Um, Jags first half, like getting them as a dog and them closing minus 145. They miss a field goal. They lose Parker Washington for the entire half. Lawrence's shin goes down on 4th and 2. And then to lose the Packers as a dog was unfortunate to say the least. The 4th and 8, blowing it was only the second time in NFL history a team has scored 25 or more points in a 15 plus point comeback in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. The other was the Patriots against the Falcons, which was one of my biggest betting losses of all time when I had the Falcons plus 4.5. So I won't forget that game for a long time. That was just painful. All the missed kicks there too. So margins are thin in the NFL playoffs. Lines are tight. You know, ultimately you just want to get the best of the number and hope variance breaks your way, but it was shitty, having a shitty weekend. So hopefully this weekend, a couple more bounces go my way, and a couple of the reads are better because the Chargers. I mean, Herbert was atrocious. I Even in clean pockets, he had guys open. He was inaccurate. You cannot blame that all on the pressure. He looked like a rookie out there. It was stunning to watch. I couldn't believe how bad he was. Uh,
Yeah,
but hopefully
the
some
only thing
kicks.
I was kicking myself like for because it was like I think I was telling you like the only thing I thought the Packers and the Chargers were the right sides, but I was like the intangibles like these teams, both of these teams in the playoffs, just I don't trust them. I'm just kicking myself for not betting like the other sides. But how about Greg Roman again? Remember the Gus Edwards when he didn't give Gus Edwards the ball? Or no, who that was Munkin, right? So now you have Greg Roman doing it, like a former Baltimore guy, uh, with the entire running game. Like they just didn't run the ball at all. I don't even think Hampton was hurt, was he? He got one carry.
No, he was hurt.
He
That
was
was
hurt.
kind of like
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. Because like it was. I mean,
He
Vidal
was
played like
heavily
every
taped. I don't
snap.
even think they tried to put him out there and he couldn't move. Um, I was shocked he even dressed. But yeah, so it's on to the divisional round now. Let's
All
pick
right.
some winners.
Yeah, let's do it. You're up first, 59-48, 2 points for our first point for our third. Um, and we can do sides totals, like anything as long as we have one side or total for this week, since there's obviously less games, so we're opening it up more. So props are included, but we need at least one side or total. With that being said, and we will cover every game in the six pack. I'll just tell you guys that now. Stuck, where are you going with your first pick of the divisional round six pack?
All right, for my first pick of the divisional round six pack, I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams team total over 26.5. This total has come down a bit, which I don't necessarily agree with. I was thinking about under 51.5, but now that it's at 48.5, I think that it's gone a little bit too far. And I think the Rams get to at least 27 here. Don't have to mess around with all the Bears voodoo. I mean, I don't know. This doesn't seem sustainable going down multiple scores like every game. Uh, they have 7 wins when trailing with under 2 minutes to go, an NFL record. But I just can't see the Rams not doing whatever they want on offense here. I mean, like the the Rams could line up and run the ball. whenever they want here. Uh, they're playing a Bears defense that overall is 28th in DVOA, 26th in success rate, 30th in EPA per play, sans turnovers. I mean, they're number one in turnover margin, number one in takeaways. That's not going to last forever. Their run defense is 28th in DVOA, 27th in rush success rate. By the way, another a prop that I really like that I consider for the six pack is Blake Corum over longest rush, 11 and a half, 12 and a half. I think his median is 15. He has one carry of at least 12 yards in 10 of his 17 games. If you remove the opener when he only had one carry, but he also didn't see a workload increase until around week 7, and his percentage of explosive runs is significantly higher with Dotson. Right, his explosive run percentage dropped at the end of the year. I think Dotson's going to be back. He's one of the best run blocking offensive linemen in the NFL. He'll help Corum a lot because Corum runs a lot inside and then he runs a lot of outside zone. The Bears, by the way, are 30th versus outside zone. Corum averages 1 yard per carry more than Kyron Williams on outside zone runs. So McVay can go super heavy here, run the ball whenever he wants. And by the way, TJ Edwards is out for the Bears.
Oh
The
my God.
Bears allow
Yes.
close to 6 yards per carry
Yes.
with Edwards off the field. They're already one of 5 teams that allow 5+ yards per carry. It gets even worse with Edwards. Their depth at linebacker is rough. The interior of the defensive line can't stop the run. And look, this Bears team going back to Corum has allowed a run of 12 or more yards in 15 of their 18 games to non-quarterbacks. I mean, that doesn't include long runs by Geno Smith, Shedeur Sanders, Malik Willis, but 23 non-quarterbacks have had a run of at least 12 yards in 18 games. 7 of the 18 games, multiple non-quarterbacks did. So I think there's a really good chance Corum breaks a couple explosive runs. Don't mind his like over rushing yards either. But look, the Bears struggle to defend heavy personnel. The Rams can
Period.
go that route. I mean, the Rams basically could do whatever they want here on offense. And the other thing is, you're going to see a lot of stats about Stafford and the cold and how he struggled. A lot of those were when he was on bad Lions teams. Like I think he has a poor record. Last year in Philly in the snow, he looked pretty damn good. I mean, Nakua went to BYU. You got your running backs all went to cold weather schools. Adams played in Green Bay. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be an issue here. You do have to worry a little bit about Stafford's finger and Adams'
Yeah.
hamstring in the
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I really worry about. But this Bears defense is pathetic. I mean, if you just look at from a points perspective, the Rams against non-top 5 defenses. So if you remove Seattle, Houston, and Philly from their schedule, and by the way, they should have scored 30 plus against Philly. They did score 30 plus against Seattle in one of their meetings. But if you remove the top 5 defenses, they averaged 30, and this Bears defense is a bottom 10 defense. They averaged 32 and a half points per game. They reached 27 in 11 of the 14 games. The Bears defense is 23rd in points allowed, despite leading the league in turnovers. They've also been pretty lucky on offense with turnovers, so you could see maybe some short fields here. And like I said, Dotson back potentially. I think he is going to be huge. I expect both coaches to be aggressive here. I mentioned that last week. I thought after that Lions game, I was like, Ben Johnson's going to go on fourth down a ton, and he did. But the Bears they could have easily had more points early in that game. And the other thing worth mentioning here is the Rams defense has cratered of late. Over the first 12 weeks of the season, they were number one in EPA per play. And
Lake went down.
I kept bringing
That was
this
when
up. I said,
Lake went down though, right? Like week 12, I think. It was when Wait, Quentin
yes,
Lake? Yeah. Okay.
but also they over the first 12 weeks, I kept bringing this up. They had so many favorable situations, right? They played the Bucks. Baker got hurt, right? And then it was just a
Hmm.
joke.
Yeah.
They played the Ravens with Cooper Rush. They played Stroud in the opener when they had offensive line injuries right before kick, and they had to flip their entire offensive line around. They played Cam Ward in his second start, Spencer Rattler. Their last 7 games, including the wild card game, they're 20th in EPA per play, and they face the Panthers and Cardinals twice each. They're giving up a ton of explosives. The Bears can hit explosives. The Rams also can hit explosives in the run pass game. Bears will give them up. So I think that the Bears can put up their fair share of points here, which will force the Rams to keep their foot on the gas. So yeah, worry a little bit about the Stafford finger in the cold, the Adams hamstring, but they can go heavy and run the ball and throw to their tight ends here if they need to, and just throw to Nakua, who has the NFL record for average reception yards in the postseason, and they'll be able to move the ball just like everyone does against the Bears. So yeah, I mean, I think now that this total has come down, I think it's come down a little bit too far. I think that the Rams team total should be like 28. So um, yeah, I'll take over 26 and a half. Everywhere I look, there's advantages for this Rams offense against this Bears defense.
I, in the interest of just, looking at both sides of the coin, the only thing I'm surprised you didn't mention as the biggest concern, like the Rams special teams stupidness. I feel like that's one of the ways that if the Rams fall short, it would be that. I think there is some risk with, like, kind of looking at how this game is going to play out. I think potentially why the total came down, bad weather. And I actually think both coaches might be less aggressive in the sense that, okay, like Ben Johnson, he knew he had to score against the Packers last week. They came out super aggressive. Didn't really work out, actually. But now his defense is even more ravaged. And I think he's gonna feel like he can still run the ball here. So I think the Bears might just go like super heavy commit, Loveland, because they've been calling up a fourth tight end to play special teams. Nikola Kalinick. I think that's how you. I don't think I've ever heard his name pronounced on air because he's never caught a ball. But so they might go heavy, and then I think the Rams surprisingly went. And part of this was just trailing game script or neutral game script, but they didn't really use as much of their heavy tight end sets last week against the Panthers, which is a little bit surprising. Maybe because Devontae was back, but I do think they'll lean into more of that. So that is how you could fall short. The McVay might be trying to win like a 20-10 game or something like that, but I do agree. The Bears without Edwards, 5.7 yards per carry in the games that he's missed, 4.5 in the games that he's played. So they've been like about a league average run defense. Same thing with the touchdown rate has been better than league average. It balloons to nearly 4% in the games that Edwards has missed. And that's, in addition to the fact that like you could get mismatches on them. We saw, I think it was Jaden Reed before Edwards went down. I believe it was Jaden Reed got a matchup on a linebacker. I think it was Edwards and either scored or almost scored last week. So yeah, I think the Rams are going to be able to do what they want, but you never know what's going on with Stafford and that special teams unit. But I agree. I think the Bears defense is the weakest unit in this game.
Yeah, there could be some wind. It doesn't look like terrible, but there could be like 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts.
Yeah.
But
Rams miss an extra point. You're gonna have to sweat out like they're gonna be stuck on 26, and you're gonna have to sweat out like the Bears turning it over and McVay going for like another field goal late or something stupid.
The other thing is the Bears don't get pressure, and that's what you need to do to throw off Stafford. So he should have time, and there's just too many advantages. And I do think that the Bears can hit explosives and put up their fair share of points. I don't think like the Rams are gonna hold them to like 10 to 13 points. And this Bears team will just never stop coming. Two great offensive minds. So even with the weather and the cold, I'll roll with the Rams over. And I like that Quorum longest rush over as well. Where are you going next?
For my first pick and the second overall of the division round 6-pack, going with Woody Marks under 58.5 rushing yards. I like the Woody Marks under. I think the market is generally high on him after what I guess was a breakout performance. I guess you could consider that a breakout performance for him last week against the Steelers with 19 carries for 112 yards and a touchdown. But I think this is a totally different spot this week. So first of all, Woody Marks has been, and we've talked about this, he's been extremely inefficient as a runner. Now it's not all on him. I don't think the Texans offensive line, it might be better than last year, but it's not great. So he averages 3.6 yards per carry. He's been highly inefficient this year. And when you look at the Patriots, their run defense, night and day, with Milton Williams on or off the field. So
Yeah, cratered late with Williams out, and then their
yeah,
linebacker injuries.
yeah,
And obviously it's so much better with him on the field. And Tonga should be back as well.
yeah, exactly. And so, and this is something I think is going a little bit underlooked, is that, okay, we can criticize the Chargers all we want. And they obviously fired their offensive coordinator. They didn't run the ball at all last week. And I think, yes, that's on them, but that also says something about the deterrent that the Patriots run defense is at full strength, because you had Justin Herbert with, probably still nursing that hand injury. You had two backup tackles. Your offensive line is still not great. I know they're probably healthier than they've been in some weeks, but still not great. And you just didn't run the ball, even down in the red zone off turnovers, just didn't run the ball. So I think that's significant. I don't think that the Texans will come out and just not run the ball, but I do think that there's a little bit more of a deterrent than people are kind of giving credit for to the Patriots. And then you also have the fact that, yes, Nick Chubb technically got some garbage time carries, but it wasn't like full garbage time. I mean, they were up 17-6. It was an 11-point game, and Marks on that same drive, Chubb got 6 carries. Marks got 3 himself, including the last carry. So there's no guarantee that Marks gets 80%, 90% of the carries. He's averaged about 70% of the designed backfield runs as the RB1. But if you go back and look at those games, they're averaging a point differential of +8 in those games. They won all but one of them. So now you're an underdog in New England. So you're already projected to, number one, lose, and number two, just being a lot more neutral to negative game script than you've been pretty much throughout Marks' run as the number one back. And the one game that the Texans did not win, that Marks was the number one back for, he got 15 carries, and he didn't do much of anything. So if you look at the Patriots this year, their run defense, 3.8 yards per carry with Milton Williams in games Milton Williams has played, and it goes up to 5.0 in the games he's missed. The touchdown rate tripled.
Which would be bottom 5.
Yeah, exactly. 147 yards per game total rushing in the games Williams missed. 83 yards per game total, not even just total in the games he's played. 13 games now.
Yeah, 3.8 would be second in the NFL behind just Seattle as a historically dominant rush defense, and 5 would be the tie with the Bears at 29th.
And just for some context, the New England Patriots, so we're going under 58.5, right? The New England Patriots, in the games Williams played, they're high allowed to running backs 58 yards in the game that he got injured in. They did not give up. They only gave up 51 other time they only gave up 51 other time. That was to Sean Tucker in week 10. But besides that, they held every other running back in the first 10 weeks under 50. And then we saw that the Chargers didn't even try last week. So, and you also have there's a possibility, Chubb mixes in. The Texans might even have 4 active running backs because they have, Jar Jordan. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be healthy. And then you also have the fact the Texans aren't really you could say, okay, well, the Texans without Nico, they do run heavier. They'll bring in an extra offensive lineman, and they have a fullback on the roster technically in British Brooks, even though he's tiny. So you think, okay, Texans could just beef up and just hammer with Marks, but they're not really good at that. They're not a good, for all the heavy that they run, they're not really good at it. So you could still get Marks 20 carries and he could still go under this number. So yeah, I like Marks under 58.5. Patriots run defense has just been lights out with Milton Williams. And if Gonzalez misses, which is a possibility, you still might want to attack the Patriots on the back end. You have, with CJ Stroud, assuming they could get the ball snapped. So yeah, give me Marks under 58.5.
Well, there's also probably Marks probably has the highest risk of any player in NFL history of going to the medical tent. Does he go to the medical
Right.
tent every game?
Pretty much.
So yeah, I mean, this isn't a great Houston rushing offense. They're bottom five in rush efficiency, explosive run percentage. Um, my so I this game's tough for me to crack, just because I still don't have a great feel in the Patriots, like because of their schedule, like the easiest schedule in 25 years. But Drake May passes every test. Although, like the first top 10 defense he faced last week, the operation did not look smooth, and I worry about their offensive line against this Houston pass rush. Uh, like, yeah, did you see their
Yeah.
rookies get bullied?
They've been worse. So I that's been tough for me to project too, because like I was, usually I like to go in, especially playoff time, and really kind of make sure I have everything exact, like, accounting for every guy that's missed games, offensive line, everything. And so like I go in, I know Campbell missed some games, Wilson missed some games, okay, looking to just like maybe adjust their yards before contact, their pressure rate. And like they've been worse with their with those guys like in the lineup, which is a concern. It's probably just an underspot where Vrabel like wins out, and like the Patriots just look like a seasoned team, and Houston looks stupid. I mean, Houston didn't get the ball snap last week. Like they lose that game to like 20, like probably like what 90% of the playoff field in any other year. Like it was just like Pittsburgh. Like Houston looked terrible last week on offense. Like I don't know how they score points. Like especially if Nico's out. That's my handicap for that game.
Yeah, it's just, well, how many plays can the Houston defense make?
Exactly.
And then the other thing is like the Patriots defense, like they changed up a lot of coverages, they disguise very well. But they didn't face, I mean, they faced just Josh Allen. It was like the only viable quarterback they faced all year. I wanted to see them against Herbert. They destroyed him, but like there were throws to be made. There were guys open. I don't so again, I'm kind of like that data point is cloudy to me. So
Vrabel. It's Vrabel. It's just it's
the
the
only thing,
intangibles, bro.
the other thing I worry about with Mark, the only thing I worry, would I'm curious your
Yeah.
thoughts on Marks is because there is this. I don't think Nico Collins is going to play. Now it's
No.
playoff concussions, right?
Yeah.
So like they're kind of non-existent. But this is a short week, and his looked really bad, and it's not his first. So I would assume he's out, right? Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. I have him projected out. I never had him projected in.
Yeah. I mean,
Ever.
but I've
So
seen some crazy concussion stuff in the playoffs or non-concussion stuff.
if it was
Christian
Josh Allen,
Gonzalez,
then yeah.
I think losing Christian Gonzalez would be worse than losing Nico because, but I think Christian Gonzalez is going to play. And the reason I say that is that the Patriots have no depth at corner, and Christian Gonzalez is really good and allows them to be really flexible. Nico Collins is also really good, but the Texans they did build some wide receiver depth when he was out this year. So like if both were out, I think it would be advantage Texans as far
I
as who,
really
yeah,
I disagree only because number like Nico
especially
Collins
with
is
Christian Kirk now.
uh, Christian Kirk's that's like the best game of his life. Like Christian Kirk has gone targetless in multiple games this year that he's played. Like
I'm just saying they have other options. Last year when they lost Nico um and what's his name? The my guy.
Mixon,
What?
Mixon.
No, I can't believe I can't think of his name.
Oh, Mechie.
No. Uh
Oh,
Tank Dell.
Tank. Yeah,
They had no other options. But this year, like when they lost Nico, like they're they had some of their other Higgins and Hutchinson.
but without Nico taking coverage against the Vrabel
No, I'm
defense, that
saying
still
when
has
Nico
good.
when Nico was out for like, and they had
Yeah,
even Davis Mills, like their offense looked um their offense didn't look like completely inept. They have more wide receiver depth now, is what I'm saying. And the
okay.
Patriots, like, they don't have corner depth. Like so Alex Austin's on. I don't. They have like
That who's that guy he has like
Charles
a very
Woods.
yeah. He's been fine. He hasn't been
I mean,
terrible.
he's played like 40 snaps.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just
The
saying like
drop off from Christian Gonzalez, who's like all pro caliber, to Charles Woods is monumental. So
yeah.
the only thing I worry about is like if Gonzalez isn't out there, although I think he's going to play, do the Patriots, dedicate less or fewer resources to the run, and are they more generic um, on their coverages? But
I think they'll play more zone. I think they'll play more zone if Gonzalez is out. But I do think they've been a run stopping team all year, and I think they're going to kind of look at that as like, okay, even last week, like what was the key to the Texans offense? It wasn't the pass game. So I think there's going to be kind of a bullseye on Marks. Like, okay, we'll let CJ Stroud drop back again. Like Vrabel has played. I think he was still in Tennessee one of those years. I'm not. Yeah, right. Yeah, 2 years ago. So it's like I just think like they saw what happened. Like that Texans pass game.
it's a similar. The good thing for the Patriots, it's a similar game plan
Yeah.
and scout, like just approach to last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like at his peak, Stroud isn't as good as Herbert. The receivers without Collins aren't as good as the Chargers receivers. Stroud under pressure
Oh,
has been really poor, and he has not been great when he's been blitzed.
yeah.
So it could be a similar game plan and approach, but um, yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on. I think Gonzalez is going to play and Nico is not, which is
Yeah. I mean, it's major. That's
advantage
major.
packed.
Yeah. I just have more. I still think the Patriots secondary is pretty good without Gonzalez. Like, it's not. It's obviously different with him in the lineup. But play more man. But I still think that like not having Nico for the Texans is the bigger loss, just because that like he opens it up for those yes, their receivers, they spent some draft picks, but like Noel hasn't even been playing. So that tells you all you need to know about him. And then Higgins, bigger guy, kind of like a Nico. Hutchinson, like he's just like a jag. And Christian Kirk had this is like his was coming off the best game of his life. So if there was ever a time like you can't really go back to that well twice in a row. So then you're left with Dalton Schultz, who you hate to like put out there because the dude doesn't block. So it's like the Texans. I think the Texans are going to be in trouble. It's like, and the script writers have been kind of on point with the narratives. It's like, okay, Packers, like everyone, like guys get injured and they choke away a lead. Bears come back. Herbert playoff vomit game. And so now, and Josh Allen inevitable. So now this week, it's time for the Texans annual, divisional round exit. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
One last question on this game.
Yeah.
Tight ends for
Yeah.
the Texans. I would assume if without Nico Collins, they're going to have to do something. That's how you have to attack the Patriots
I like
linebackers
Schultz. I like
in
Schultz.
coverage. Do you like Schultz overs?
Yeah, I do. Me and Kerner were like laughing about this yesterday because like I had like Schultz at like 50 yards. He was like right there with Loveland. Loveland has jumped ahead in my fantasy projections, but like, yeah, I have Schultz at like 50 yards. He's at 41. I hate betting overs on like just like that, just because like I don't know, it just feels dirty after betting unders all year. But I'm probably gonna be on his overs, because he was quiet last game, and I like in the the divisional round last year, right, against the Chiefs. He was a guy that they were looking to, and I think that's what they're going to have to do, because I still think the Patriots on the outside. I mean, you still got Davis and Jones. I mean, what would happen? Jones would kick out, or would they just go with who's that guy? What's his name? Woods. Would they just go Woods on the outside?
I think so, but
Okay, yeah, but either way, I mean, it's still solid corner. It's not like a bad corner group, all things considered. The safety's still good, so yeah, I think Schultz would be the guy that you would look to in a spot like this. And he's been, targets per route. He's been like the guy for them after Nico. He's been above 20%. And I think Mark's. That's another thing about Mark's. I like the rushing under. He gives them juice, so he's going to be on the field. Like I don't expect them to like give Chubb a ton of work if the game's in doubt, but they could use him in the pass game instead of like as an extension of the run game. So yeah, that's how I see a big Schultz game. I think the receivers could struggle a little more than expected because, without Nico taking the top off, I just think it's going to be harder for like those bigger body guys and like Christian Kirk to do it like again, with like more eyes on him. So yeah, I think Schultz is a good bet. Stover, who knows? I mean, sometimes they like to get him involved, but somebody's got to block, right? Like somebody, if they want to get Marks in the route, and Schultz like Schultz ain't blocking. So if Stover's on the field, he'll probably block. So he'll probably be like the Noah Gray, where it's like you think he could do something, but he'll probably just do nothing. But I think Schultz would be the guy for me. Thought about
Okay.
his anytime touchdown, yeah. But I could see a very similar script to last week, where Patriots don't score much, but Texans might not even get in the end zone at all, like another like 16-6 game or something like that. So
Yep. All right. For my
yeah, we
second
go
pick
next.
and the third overall of the divisional round six pack, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills under 23 and a half. I also played the full game under, which you'll touch on, but I'll take the team total under on the Bills. I I think this is well, I like the full game under. I'll explain my thought process there. This the Bills' offense is obviously beat up. They had three active, healthy receivers. Now Curtis Samuel was activated off IR, so you'll have him in there. But Kincaid is not fully healthy. Josh Allen got banged up multiple instances, and now on a short week heading to Denver against a rested defense that should be close to full health outside of Brandon Jones. I think Greenlaw
Yeah,
will be back, which will
yeah,
help.
he's had their run defense.
Yeah,
He's had a
run
good run defense.
defense will help
Yeah.
significantly. Because if you recall last year, the Bills won 31-7 against the Broncos, and they just ran all over them.
Mhm.
And but if you recall in that game, the Broncos were significantly shorthanded at linebacker, and then they had injuries like in the first quarter at linebacker. They're much better there. Now you have Hufanga, and I mean I think that they can hold their own enough against the run, but it's not like a Seattle run defense. I think the Bills will be able to run some, and I think that's what they're going to have to lean on. And with the dearth of wide receiver, I think they have to lean into more two tight end, maybe even three tight end formations and go heavy here.
Extra lineman or something like that,
Extra
or
linemen.
fullback. They have Gilliam on the roster too, so you could
But
get.
the Broncos are top three against 12 and 13 personnel.
Yep. Yep.
So they've been very good in that aspect. They're also very good, even though they play a ton of man against scrambling quarterbacks, and they've played a bunch, and they're going to play a ton of man. And the Bills' offense has been significantly worse against man coverage this year. And that's not a Josh Allen thing. That's their receivers can't get separation thing. And with the Broncos blitzing and being able to get pressure, and if you recall, the games where the Bills struggled the most this year, see Houston, Atlanta, is when other teams have good corners and bring the blitz and or are able to get pressure. I think that will play out here as well. On the other side of the ball, by the way, Ed Oliver could be back for Buffalo, which is another boost to this under in total. But what do the Bills do under Sean McDermott? They're going to play a lot of too high. They're going to try to take away the explosive play. They're going to disguise their coverage as well. And they can still generate a good bit of pressure. Their run defense still isn't any good. So what do I think the Broncos are going to do? I think the Broncos are going to lead into the run. And I think this game is just like field position. The Bills' only goal in this game should be to get it to the fourth quarter close and then have Allen with the ball. That's it. That should be your goal here. But I think that the Broncos will run it. Like there's just gonna be this clock's gonna be speeding throughout. Both teams are gonna rely on the run. And with the Bills taking away the explosive play, you then like Bo Nix is so inefficient on a down to down basis. He will hit some explosives, but if you take that away, and against too high, Bo Nix has the lowest yards per attempt in the league. He just takes the short passes, the little dinks and dunks, and you force the Broncos to drive the field and make Nix be consistent on a down to down basis, they're most likely not going to succeed in driving the field and putting six on the board. So I think you're just going to have a lot of like 4 to 5 minute, 30-yard drives that end in a punt, maybe some 6, 7 minute drives that end in field goals. And this game is like ends 20-17. Um, so I like the full game under, and I'll go Bills under 23.5. I think it's a really tough matchup. I am curious to see like what they do with Surtain because like he is kind of wasted. I know there's like a lot of people are joking about that. But like you put him out, whoever you put him out on is erased, and you just don't even have to worry about that side of the field. But like, do you use him some on like Kincaid? But Kincaid's not fully healthy. If they
Kincaid
go,
don't
if
play
they,
enough to even like game plan for that.
yeah,
Like
no, but I'm
Kincaid,
saying that they go if they decide to go like 12-13 for majority of the game, what do they
uh,
do?
I
Um,
put I put him on the X receiver and just like because
I'm
like
assuming that's what they'll do, but
like so here's my thing about and we'll talk about this too because I'll be on the full game under as my official six pack pick, but I'm going with it for my third. But agree with all what you're saying, but I'll just talk about and I know you're going to talk about this guy, so we could just kind of just knock all this stuff out and then I'll give my
yeah, you can give your last two for
yeah.
my third and final pick and the fourth overall of the division round six. I'm going with Brandon Cooks under 2.5 receptions.
Yes.
He he's cooked against man coverage. Uh, that's he just can't get any separation. He's there to be a guy who will go down the field. Maybe Allen will connect on a deep shot or two against him, but this is a much tougher task than Jacksonville,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where he ended with 3 catches. The Broncos secondary is much better. They're a man heavy defense, not a zone heavy defense. They also are much better at generating pressure than the Jaguars. So Allen isn't going to have as much time. And like I said, I think both teams are going to lean into the run. There's going to be fewer opportunities for that to occur. So, yeah, it's just tough for me to see Cooks getting much play. I think the Bills' passing attack has to be, it's lean on the run, lean on Allen's legs, lean on Cook, not only running the ball, but out of the backfield, and then your tight ends. Um, and you know, the other thing about the Bills team total under is you Shakir is probably their most reliable wide receiver weapon, who lines up in the slot a lot. Well, McMillan is one of the better slot corners, and I think matches up well body and skill set. The Broncos there's a lot of targets in the slot because you don't want to throw to Sertan, but they allow the third lowest completion percentage in the slot in the NFL this year. So I think it's a tough matchup for the Bills. Do I want to bet the Broncos? No. I don't trust Bo Nix, and it might be a struggle for their offense. And if it's close late, I'd much rather have Allen. But I do think that the Broncos defense will hold the Bills offense in check for most of the game. And in order for the Bills to win this game, it's going to be like they're down 17-13, 17-14 late. Allen has the ball, tries for a touchdown. They win like 21-17. But I think this is a really tough matchup for the Bills offense, which is really banged up. But it's going to be a lot of man coverage. I
Yeah.
I can't see him getting uh, any separation, and he'll get a couple maybe targets deep, but that's about it.
Yep. So this is gonna be like I said, this will be my third official pick for the six pack. Under full game, 46 and a half, still out there. Fine at 45 and a half as well. I don't see many points being scored. So a couple things on Cooks. The reason why I think Sertan does in fact just stay outside and take away who they put out there, which will probably be Cooks, is because Cooks had 100 yards against Philly. Now that is a more man heavy defense, but he didn't do anything on Mitchell, their top corner, who you would liken to Sertan. He caught one deep against the zone, and then he did catch a couple on Cooper DeJean, which is that's you got to give him credit for that. So I don't think the Broncos are gonna like take Cooks maybe as lightly as we or just the general public might look at Brandon Cooks guy coming over mid-season. So I think that Sertan will be out there and his job will be stop Cooks, who 58 yards against Jacksonville on 3 catches. 4 for 101 against Philly. Those are the last 2 games. Cooks has been a significant part of their passing offense. You take that out, Shakir, not great against man coverage. He had 12 for 82 against the zone-heavy Jags defense. That could go down. And then you look at, and this is one of the reasons why I like the under, you look at the Bills, okay, yards per route run against man coverage this year. Broncos one of the heaviest man defense. At wide receiver, their top receiver in yards per route against man coverage this year. Elijah Moore. Guess what? He's on the Broncos. Joshua Palmer, injured reserve. Tyrell Shavers, injured reserve. Khalil Shakir is 4th. I mentioned his numbers take a big dive against man coverage compared to zone. And then it's Kevon Coleman, healthy scratch most of the year. Then it's Curtis Samuel, activated, might not even play because they're super conservative with these things. Gabe Davis, IR. Then Brandon Cooks. Like I named like 8 receivers before we even got to Brandon Cooks. And then your top guy overall in yards per route versus man coverage has run like 2 routes, and that's Reggie Gilliam, your fullback. Your next best guy is Dalton Kincaid, who's in a precautionary boot and hasn't been like off the injury report since like what, the first half of the year. So yeah, it's gonna be problematic. I know like the NFL script writers are probably gonna figure out a way for the Bills here, but the Broncos should win this game. I mean, if we're just objectively speaking, the Broncos should win this game. The Bills defense,
from a matchup perspective, I agree.
Yeah. And but the reason I like the under, you do have the Bills that will in this kind of spot, you know, it's almost like you don't want to get into a shootout here. So yeah, I think you lean into that. They have been playing a little bit more, mixing up the coverages a little more. I think they go heavy zone, try to limit explosives, play too high. That's what you do against Bo Nix, who has been less efficient against zone coverages all year. And he started to take, you know, he's gotten like, it's not like Jalen Hurts where they completely go in the tank, but he's just taking what the defense gives him a little bit more. So the explosives, the scrambles, those tend to come more against man coverage type of defenses. So I think Buffalo always seems to have a good game plan on defense, even when their defense isn't great or guys are hurt. So
yeah, that's McDermott can still do that. He still has his fastball in that aspect.
And the Broncos, it could be a little tight. And if you just look historically, Sean Payton, has had those high-powered Saints offenses. And if you look at like they've gotten a lot of buys, and just in general, if you look at like their first playoff game each postseason, it tends to be a lot lower scoring, even when the Saints were indoors than you would expect.
Yeah, a lot of those games are like 10-0 at the half, 10-7.
Yeah,
he's 6-12 against the spread in the first half.
You know what it is? Because Sean Payton has like a sick affliction. Like he's just a football sicko, and he's one of the few like that still likes to, you know, most teams like to go tempo, keep the defense from subbing. Sean Payton likes to have like 4 offensive skill players jog on and off between every single play. Like not even just like between early and late downs. Like he'll go first down with like Prentice, Harvey, Bryant, Mims, and then second down it'll be like Franklin, McLaughlin, like it'd just be a whole new unit. And it's like a lot of tight ends and fullbacks and guys that are not even fast to jog on and off the field in the first place. So like that's why these games tend to slow down in the playoffs.
And the Bills are one of the slowest teams in the league.
Yeah, and they want to be slow, I think, in this game. Like I don't think they want to get into a shootout until, like you said, until absolutely necessary in the fourth quarter. Then okay.
And that's what they've done all year. That's why they've been so bad in first halves, and that's why their offense is so good in second halves.
And can't believe, again, you didn't mention special teams. Bills kicker has been on the injury report.
Last week I mentioned that, and he had a 50-yarder, and the All-Pro kicker missed the 50-yarder, and I lost the bet.
He's freaking Whittle has missed way too many kicks for like the leg he has, but I digress. Bills still shaky a kicker. You are in the mile high, but that could actually play into the under, because on both sides, I think you're going to feel like your defense can win you the game until you're the Bills in like late. So you might go for some of those long kicks. Now it could result in short fields if you miss, but Prater might have a little more range. Bills might not go for as many fourth downs. And then, you know, Sean Payton's still kind of a little bit old school. So he might feel like his defense, he can win on his strength of his defense. Doesn't want to put Bo Nix in a bad situation after that blowout last year. So yeah, like the under in this game. Love your Cooks bet. So those are my thoughts on this game. But yeah, I think Surtain will be a little race somebody. And I really don't know how the Bills get a ton of passing production. Like I almost want to go Josh Allen passing unders, but I expect the Broncos to win this game. So, it's always risky betting like losing trailing quarterbacks passing yardage unders, but like, I don't see how the Bills get a ton of yardage here. Ty Johnson got banged up trying to chase those incentives in week 18. Remember, he was the guy who made an incredible.
Yeah, he could have been big here with all the receiver out of the backfield.
Could have been big last week too, but yeah.
He's like a third receiver.
Exactly. So like the Bills, like if you look at their numbers against man coverage, which I think that now that could lead to, you'll get some opportunities. I'm sure there'll be like a couple of shot plays. It'll be like an old school NFL game. You have like Sean Payton on one side, Dermott on the other. Like you're probably building some shot plays if you're Buffalo, just because you will get man coverage. But yeah, the Broncos defense is strong all over. They've been significantly better with Greenlaw against the run if he's in there. And then even their numbers when you just look at them fully healthy, because I think Singleton missed a game. Their safety missed a couple games. But with everyone healthy, they've been just lights out, a lot better than like a lot of people are like, oh, what's going on with their defense? Like mid-season, they had like a little swoon, but a lot of guys kind of missed games in the middle of the year. Like, so now everyone's healthy coming off the bye. And then they also lost their center a couple weeks ago, the Broncos. Was Wattenberg, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been, their run yards before contact have not been as strong, and their sack rate and their pressure rate has gone up, and their yards before contact have gone down since he's been out. So especially if Ed Oliver's back, that is another advantage to the under. So yeah, like the under for Bills, Broncos, like your
I think that they're going to lean into the run, but it's not a terribly efficient rushing offense.
Yeah, it could be explosive, but yeah, it's not terribly efficient.
It's not like the scariest rushing offense that you're going to face. All right, where are you going for your last pick?
Oh wait, one before we go on, because we always have to talk like 30 minutes on the Bills. Carl Treffer's playoff unders 11-4, 73% according to our Action Labs data. He will be the ref for Broncos Bills. But yeah, for my second, technically, so it'll be my second and fourth overall, because again, the Bills Broncos under will be my third. So for my second pick, the fourth overall of the divisional round 6-pack, I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers team total under 18.5. 17.5 it's not really a key number, so I'm fine with that. But I think, as much as I hate to say it, because I do have a Super Bowl ticket on the Niners, I think their luck may come to an end here. And if they win this game, I think they're going to have to do it it's going to have to be like a game where both teams score under 20. So don't hate the full game under, but I can see the Seahawks getting it together on offense here. Niners team total under. 2 games against Seattle, they've scored 20 points combined. It has not been pretty. Now you have Kittle out of the lineup. That hurts your pass game. That hurts your run game. You're going to ask Juszczyk to do more. He's still a fullback and an old one at that. So it's like, yes, it's all great when he's catching 4 balls, but like that's not ideal offense. McCaffrey has done nothing on the ground in almost every game this year. I mean, it's been a lot through the air. Last week, you had a Jennings touchdown pass, and you had a great scripted opener. You got the Demarcus Robinson drive, we'll call it. None of that's sustainable. So what's the Niners avenue to points here? And they're already a slow team. They probably want to lean back. And by the way, Trent Williams is not healthy. He said it himself. Gave up 6 pressures, I believe it was last week. He's not healthy. He's just gutting it out. So you got an unhealthy Trent Williams. You have a run game that can't run, and you have no George Kittle. You might get Pearsall back, okay, but he hasn't been a difference maker in all but 1 or 2, like 2 of his games, really. Juwan Jennings has been completely shut down as a receiver by the Seattle Seahawks, because when their defense is healthy, when they have Amani Wari and everyone healthy, like they've just been lights out. And now they don't even have to worry about Kittle, which is big, because now they can really do some things as far as, getting the matchups they want, dictating what they want to do, kind of dictating terms to San Francisco. So I just don't see how San Francisco scores. Jennings in the 2 games, and Jennings has been the guy for Purdy that has really stepped it up and like mitigated, some of the injuries to Pearsall and Kittle at times. Jennings, four catches on 6 targets for 35 yards in the Week 18 game. 2 catches for 16 yards on 5 targets in the Week 1 game. So that's a combined 6 catches on 11 targets for just 51 yards. He's averaging like essentially Christian McCaffrey yards per carry as a receiver per target. No touchdowns for Jennings receiving. So now you're really going to need Pearsall if he's even back. Robinson's not going to catch him by surprise again. Kendrick Bourne has been non-existent. There's just not many avenues here for the Niners to score points. And I think Seattle has what they've started to do on offense themselves, which kind of, this game might not get into like a shootout realm, is that Seattle's been a little more conservative on offense. Darnold has, they haven't been calling as many shots. They've kind of just been, okay, Darnold, like, just kind
their
of
offense has kind of been figured out a bit.
Yeah, exactly. But they also realize how good their defense is at full strength, I think, because their coach is McDonald. And by the way, this is like Kyle Shanahan, one of the best to do it. McDonald in these 2 games, again, 20 combined points for this Niners offense like that. So it's like, now they have
go back to Purdy against McDonald when the game he lost the MVP too.
Yeah. Oh, when he was with Baltimore and
he threw 4 picks
on like Christmas. Yeah, exactly. So yes, it's always hard to beat a team twice in 3 weeks. Yes, the Seahawks are kind of an upstart, but I think the defense is for real. When I go back and kind of adjust them for like guys being in and out, it's like with everybody in, I mean, they've just given up nothing. They're the one team that was able to do some things off of them in this second half of the year really was the Rams, and the Rams collapsed down the stretch in that game. And outside of that, it's like teams have struggled to get even 200 yards of offense against Seattle. I mean, the Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball. I think the Niners, they don't like to stack the box. Maybe they'll be a little more aggressive here, try to force the issue. But I would think they would just try to play another low scoring game. But Seattle dominated time of possession the last game, which now the Niners are, you're going to try to run the ball. You're not going to be as explosive. You're probably not going to get as much possession. I just don't see how the Niners get there unless it's, special teams. And I think that the Seahawks special teams is probably better than the Niners. So yeah, don't see it for the Niners scoring the ball. It's a low number for the Niners, but the Seahawks have held, over half their opponents under this number. And the Niners, again, 20 points in 2 games. You give them another touchdown, that'd still be 13.5 average. If you say, okay, that McCaffrey bobble interception, say they score on that, still you're talking about under 14 points a game in these 2 matchups. Give me the Niners team total under. McCaffrey hasn't broken runs longer than he hasn't even gotten to double digits. Talk about a long carry fade. He hasn't gotten to double digits in a lot of these recent games. So yeah, Niners team total under. I just don't see how they score. Maybe they pull off a miracle and win if Darnold pukes, but I don't really know what to expect from the Seahawks offense as much, but I don't think the Niners are going to have it here. Any thoughts?
Yeah, this game I'm kind of perplexed on. So by the way, the coaching especially in the NFC, but the coaching matchups, this is what usually determines these games. And the coaching, especially in the NFC, like Ben Johnson versus McVay and Shanahan versus McDonald, just awesome. So Ken Shanahan, who said he was like they weren't prepared for, Seattle threw out some different looks at them that they weren't prepared for. What can Shanahan cook up? He finally beat the Fangio defense. He found some weaknesses right on the left side of the field. They hit some explosives. They used a trick play. Like, they're going to need to do that stuff. They will get nothing on the ground in this game. Seattle's run defense is historically dominant. But in week 1, they did move the ball. Kittle got hurt in that game. They had Williams. They didn't have Williams in the finale, but as you mentioned, Williams isn't at 100%. But in that week 1 game, Pearsall went nuts. Like, it would be huge to have him as a deep threat. But I don't know if you can really expect him to be back, and I don't know if you can expect him to be at 100%.
And do you want Purdy hanging in the pocket and trying to go deep again?
Well, I mean, this you're going to have to do, and you're just going to have to hope that you can hit some. But there's probably going to be some Purdy mistakes. Where are those interceptions on the field? But here's, if Shanahan is able to cook up a brilliant game plan and put together a couple touchdown drives, then, I mean, or even 10 points early, that will force Seattle, who should be able to run at will, right? And they should get crossed back. Arroyo might come back, which I think could help the passing offense and like stretching the middle of the field as a more of a vertical threat. Um, but I'm curious there's so many I could talk about this game forever. Like Salah basically just sat in too high, played like 67% of the snaps against the Eagles, prevent the explosives, make them drive down the field. Does he do that again, or does he like bring more guys in the box to stop the run and dare Darnold to throw?
They haven't done that all year though. I always think they should do more of that, but that's just they've
I
been.
know,
I
but
think
sometimes you
yeah, in the
you pull a
playoffs.
lot, you pull a curveball in the biggest highest leverage games. I would assume they're going to sit back a lot of the game, but how often do you come up to help in the run? Because the Seahawks got whatever they wanted in the run game. So because what will happen is if the 49ers can't get anything going on offense, because if they can, Darnold, he's not going to be pressured. There's going to be opportunities for Seattle to move the ball and score. And they left a lot of points on the table in both meetings. Like they ended
Yeah,
the first game, they got sack fumble inside the 10. They turned it over on downs. They missed two field goals last time out. The 49ers defense is bad and they don't get pressure. But if the 49ers offense has no solution, so we know they're not going to be able to run it, Purdy's going to be under pressure. And if the 49ers get behind and they're not showing any life on offense, Seattle is going to kill the game.
yep.
And McDonald smartly is going to say Darnold is not losing this game, right? And they're not going to throw it. They're not going to take any risks. They're going to run it. They're going to try to go on like 7-minute drives, play field position, and then this total will have no chance. I'm
The
talking about
same
the
thing the
game.
Niners are gonna do. The same thing the Niners
Yeah.
would do early. So like I like the full game total as well, but I do see a lane where the Niners puke on offense because I
No, I
still don't.
considered Seattle team total over.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Um,
I'm saying. Like that's the variable, which is why I'm going Niners team total under because
yeah,
I
I
like.
considered
Yeah,
Seattle team total over. My worry though is that if they're up 13 nothing, they have no incentive to score two more touchdowns. Like they'll just they won't throw it all. They'll go so conservative and so slow and just say Darnold, we're not going to put the ball in harm's way. Um, so fascinating game. Can't wait to watch, see what Shanahan tries to pull because they're going to need like trick. They're going to have to pull out a trick play again. Um,
again. Yeah, it's hard to do
and
2 weeks in a row, especially because Jennings has
um,
been their money guy with that, like he did in the Super Bowl.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean McCaffrey, I guess, has done it. Like right, he's thrown a couple passes. It would probably be him this time. I would think would throw a pass maybe to Jennings or something or Pearsall. So I guess you could like if there's like a weird prop where you could get like some type of McCaffrey passing or I think Purdy touchdown unders or something like that might be smart because he might not throw all the touchdown passes, but yeah, it's gonna be rough, especially because this is the third meeting against a divisional opponent that just specializes in defense and
yeah. And you
shutting
mentioned
teams.
special teams. Seattle is significantly better than San Francisco. Seattle is one of the best special teams units in the NFL. We saw the 49ers return units last week struggle. You don't want to have bad field position against the Seahawks. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. I'm assuming that 49ers are going to try to throw it to McCaffrey 12 times.
Yep, I like his over receptions at 5.5, 6.5. It's a little dicier, but yeah, I expect McCaffrey to get uh double digit targets. I Jennings, Seattle has just been so good against number one receivers by DVOA. I believe they are number one in the league, and so like it kind of has shown up in Jennings, which is a big if you could shut down Jennings with a Kittleless offense, which is easier to do as well. There's not many options. Tongus might actually be like a garbage time hero. I could see him like getting like 8 catches for like 70 yards or something, just like a couple 2-minute drives.
Yeah.
All right. So so we hit on every game. Let me just recap the six pack just because we got a little out of order there. So Stuck, you're going Rams team total over 26.5, Bills team total under 23.5, and Brandon Cooks under 2.5 receptions. I'm going Woody Marks under 58.5 rushing yards. The 49ers team total under 18.5, and the Bills Broncos under 46.5. Even if those numbers go down, still like them. 45 is not really a key number. So, as long as you're above 44 for Bills Broncos, marks, I have closer to 50. I bet that down to about 54. And Niners team total, 18 is not a key number. 17 is. So as long as it's above 17, fine with that. And for you, I assume it's the same. Like Rams, would you go if for some reason it got to 27.5? What would you do then? Would you fade it or would you still bet it?
Cheap. If it's cheap, the cheap 27.5 at plus money, yeah, would still play it. But I prefer more expensive 26.5. Cooks under 2.5, good to like minus 150. Would you agree with that?
I would go to any juice as long as it's 2.5. It's because like receptions are a little different. It's like it's a more like Poisson type of distribution where it's like it's more about the number for that one. So yeah, as long as it's 2.5, I wouldn't really mind the juice.
And then Bills,
you want at least 23, right?
Yeah, need at least 23. Find the more expensive 23.5.
All right, so that's going to do it for our divisional round 6-pack. If you want to tail some of these bets, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. And before we get to the rest of the pod and our touchdown parlay, here's your weekly reminder to sign up for Action Pro. Only Action Pro subscribers get real-time notifications when Stuckey, Brandon Anderson, Sean Kern, and myself, any of our action experts, track picks in the app. There will be plenty of fun sweats this NFL postseason, so you want to get on board right now. You can use promo code POD20 for $20 off an annual subscription. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and use code POD20, that's POD20, for $20 off. The rest of the show is coming up, but first I'll throw it to myself for a quick word from our sponsor, DraftKings. The Action Network podcast is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, and in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code ACTIONNETWORK when signing up with DraftKings. That's code ACTIONNETWORK when signing up with DraftKings for $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. All right. So no money line dog parlay this week. So great season for you, Stuck. I think it was 16-3 overall on the money line dogs. But I guess real quick, like who? I would probably go Denver. Denver's still an underdog right now. I think Denver is in a good spot. Don't feel great about Houston or San Francisco. Any thoughts on Bears? Bears voodoo, but kind of lean the Rams way. I think they get it done. So yeah, it would have to.
I would just go Houston because low total. Still unsure on the Patriots, and then that Houston defense could just carry them to a win, and dominate the line of scrimmage.
All right, so yeah, let's get into our anytime touchdown parlay for the divisional round presented by DraftKings. All right, Stuck. I guess this has been my version of your.
We cannot put two together. Kincaid scores. The double gut punch is Lawrence didn't get the get 4th and 2 at the 5, and that cost me the first half bet. And also, if he gets it, prime opportunity for him to score on that drive, but didn't get there. For this week, I'm going to go with Blake Corum plus 270. I think this is a little high. I already talked about this and why I think the Rams will have plenty of advantages in the running game. So let's go with Blake Corum.
Yeah, I think him and Kyron, there's value there. I think the Rams could go a little bit run heavier in this matchup, especially with Edwards off the field, Stafford dealing with a finger. So like
the cold.
Corum. Yeah, exactly, and the cold. So yeah, I have this closer to plus 200. And a guy I have under plus 200 that is still getting plus 200 odds is the guy I'm going to go with, and that's Colston Loveland for the Chicago Bears. He's just been unbelievable. And the Bears tend to find themselves in trailing game scripts, which tend to benefit the passing game. Loveland's just been the number one receiver now, so it's not even a matter of, at one point in the year, it was a matter of, okay, how much two tight end personnel do they run? Now it's just Loveland's out there every snap, and it's just whether Komet is on the field or not. But love Loveland in this spot. Zone Rams play zone heavy defense, and we saw them struggle with kind of interior receivers. Jalen Coker went off against them. So, but they're gonna have to still deal with. I think Burden can have a good game too, but in the red zone, I think Loveland is going to be the guy. He's averaging over a half an expected touchdown per game, since that eruption against the Bengals, mid-season. So it's not just he's been scoring them, but some guys, they get lucky, or they're like he's been getting the opportunities. We saw him on that 2-point conversion where they had a nice nifty play drawn up, got him matched up on a linebacker. So yeah, love Loveland in this spot against the Rams. You can parlay Corum with Loveland. That would be a same game parlay, and you get 10-1 odds on DraftKings. So hopefully we can bring one home at the same time. You had Tremble in week 18. That was a nice hit. And then Kincaid for me last week. So let's try to get it together here. That's going to be our anytime touchdown parlay. Holston Loveland, Blake Corum, final game of the weekend, presented by DraftKings, 10-1. That is a wrap for us. Any final thoughts on the divisional round before we get out of here? Stuck?
Wide open. So, but this is the year of, maybe it's is it just Josh Allen is the Mahomes this year, or it's just like it doesn't matter? Because like I would normally want to bet the Broncos here, but I can't bet against Josh Allen, which is why I'm not betting either side. But we're gonna find out. Or is this the year of the defenses? Are we headed toward a potential, Houston or Denver versus Seattle Super Bowl, which might not be the most entertaining for people that love points and offense, but yeah, it's still very wide open. Looking forward to all the games. There are only 7 NFL games left. Enjoy every second of them, because before you know it, it'll be June and you'll be dying for a bad Thursday night game. So let's have a weekend.
Oh yeah. Oh, actually, I do have one quick question for you. So before the year, I got Super Bowl tickets on Niners, Rams, Bills, and then Packers, Chiefs, and Ravens are eliminated. Would you hedge in any type of way with, so teams I'm not exposed to right now: Seattle, the Bears. Seattle I think is the one that because I have a Rams ticket and a Niners ticket, so that I feel good. I feel decently about that. But like, and it's easy to hedge on the Bears as underdogs. But what would you do as far as like Seattle, just because they're the favorite? Is any type of approach you would take, or just kind of ride it out?
I maybe take some Seattle, but if it's not like life-changing money, that's what it all depends on. Like, and if you actually like Seattle, like, can you see Sam Darnold winning the Super Bowl
this year?
Uh,
Yeah.
so
This
if
year,
you
yeah.
kind of like it, then yeah, that's the one other team that I would want exposure on. So I would maybe play a little bit on Seattle.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. Because I could with the Bears, it's as simple as you could kind of just hedge on their money line. But with Seattle being a big favorite, it's a little got to kind of just take their futures, so it's a little different. But yeah, I think the interesting one thing I'll say before we get out of here is, this is the coaching postseason. I mean, the weakest coach left in the postseason is probably either Sean McDermott, who does nothing but win games and get the Bills to the playoffs, and D'Amico Ryans, who has won a postseason game in each of his first 3 years as a coach. Like, those are the
Two
weakest
still really good defensive minds.
right? And those are the weak. No shade to them. I'm just saying those are the 2 weakest coaches. So this is and then another thing I thought was interesting last week. You look at like a lot of the expert predictions and just like like insiders and what they're saying, and like everyone was talking about run games last week, and I get it. Coming off that Eagles postseason the year before, and Everyone was talking about run games. Didn't really materialize like that. I mean, Jags have the advantage in the run game. Doesn't matter. Josh Allen. You have the Bears. They can run. Packers getting moved off the ball without Micah. Didn't matter. Packers and then the Bears' weak run defense didn't matter. It's just Packers throwing it all around. Josh Jacobs was a kick returner by the end of the game, and then the Bears still come back with the passing game. Rams, all their running out of heavy didn't really materialize. Panthers, Rams stopping the Panthers run with Lake didn't matter. They just toasted them in the pass game and with the quarterback runs. So like this week, you might see, I think the run game matter a little more because
I agree.
I think it's like Shanahan has to run it. And then I think a lot of other teams just want to run it. And then the Texans, if they could run it, it would be great for them, but they might not be able to. There's a lot of really good run defenses this week, is what I'll say. So like the run game, whether it's like teams failing to run or being able to, I think it could matter a lot more than last week. That's just how the playoffs tend to go. But looking forward to it. And it's been a pleasure all year. Stuck will be back next week to cover the championship games. And until then, if you want to tail the bets, again, actionnetwork.com/bet now, or go to @playbook on Twitter. It will build you bet slips. You can find Stuck on X @Stuckey2. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Shout out to our sponsor, DraftKings. Until the championship round, let's get this money.
Let go.